Previously, a group of hunters watched as Zon team made their way toward and entered the Black Veil. Yingwei noted that they were being observed. Suddenly, the ground trembled, splitting them apart. Zon and Yingwei gazed at the enormous wall that had risen, attacking it in vain as it quickly healed itself. Out of nowhere, a small monster charged at Zon, but he dodged just in time. Recognizing the threat, he chose to retreat to a safer distance while the creature eyed them closely. Now to this week's chapter. The scene shifted to the team of hunters. After a brief discussion, the leader decided to follow Zhan's group into the monster zone. He reminded everyone that, with no other teams around, most monsters were likely gone, but they needed to stay alert. One member reassured him, saying they shouldn't worry since all the hunters were third-tier contract masters. Another agreed, noting that if things went south, they could always retreat. With that boost of confidence, the team moved forward, ready for anything. But their confidence quickly faded as the ground began to shake, catching them off guard. Panic set in as they watched the earth tremble beneath them. Suddenly, walls erupted from the ground, blocking their view. One member shouted for everyone to watch out, struggling to see through the swirling dust. Then, he spotted a shadowy figure nearby. As the dust settled, the member spotted the leader and rushed over, concern etched on his face. But something felt off. Suddenly, the leader turned and let out a monstrous roar, attacking him. The member's confusion turned to fear as he realized the leader wasn't himself. Just then, a small monster crawled out of the leader's hair. While the leader held him in place, the creature lunged at his face. The member could only scream in panic as chaos erupted around them. The scene shifted to Yifan and Yingwei as they made their way through the maze created by the monster. Yingwei looked at Yifan, her gratitude clear. He brushed off her thanks, his focus on their surroundings. He observed the twisting paths, aware that the monster was trying to separate them and take them down one by one. Yingwei paused, feeling the invisible threads wrapping around them. Yifan glanced back, recognizing the same sensation but confident that his talent rendered them harmless. They began to walk, and Yingwei expressed her envy of his talent, wishing she didn't have to worry about her life. Yifan stopped, reflecting on her words. In his eyes, the inability to pass away felt more like a punishment. He turned to her, suggesting they might as well stop and give up, feeling trapped with no way out. Yingwei looked at him, questioning why they couldn't leave. Yifan met her gaze, silently asking if she had a plan for escape. Yingwei approached the wall formed by the monster and began to channel one of her skills, her hand glowing with a golden light. She noted that the wall was nothing but lifeless dust. Suddenly, the area where her hand touched began to shatter under the power of her skill. As the walls around them started to collapse, Yingwei remained calm and focused. Meanwhile, Yifan panicked, questioning what was happening. Dust and debris fell around them as he struggled to comprehend the sudden turn of events. As the walls fell, a shadowy figure appeared through the dust and debris. She caught sight of the shadowy shape and called out, questioning if it was her leader lurking within the darkness. It was Zon in the shadows. She screamed for him to watch out as more walls began to collapse toward him. Hearing her cries, he quickly understood the danger and jumped back just in time to avoid the falling debris. He landed safely on one of the loose pieces of rock from the crumbling wall as Yifan and Yingwei rushed to his side. He looked over at them, relieved to see they were finally back together as a team. Yingwei mentioned that she had used her skills to dissolve the maze, but they hadn't gotten very far. Meanwhile, a massive rock fist was approaching from behind, ready to strike. Zon, seeing the danger, screamed for them to watch out as the attack came from behind. But it was too late to react. They turned back in fear, and Yingwei's face reflected panic as the massive fist rushed toward them at great speed. But just then, a golden blade sliced through the rock fist just in time, creating a massive shockwave upon impact. They both watched in awe, realizing they had been saved from the attack. The attack came from Zon, who jumped in front of them, surrounded by a golden aura. He urged them to fall back quickly, but it was too late. A giant rock monster rose from the ground, looming over them as it let out a furious roar. They looked up at the creature, understanding that their situation had become dire. Understanding the situation, Zon acted quickly in frustration and began to channel one of his skills. He created a barrier, hoping it would be strong enough to stop the monster's attack. As the creature roared, it stepped forward, preparing to strike. The monster lunged at Zon, a bright light enveloping him. Using his skills, Zan attempted to send Yingwei and the other to safety. But Yingwei realized that the monster's attack had a shockwave effect, and she saw the wave rushing toward them. Before they could escape, the shockwave hit them, and both screamed in pain from the powerful blast. As the other two were pushed back from the blast, Zan struggled to hold off the rock monster. He shouted to them, explaining that the Black Veil was the reason for all these monsters appearing. They needed to eliminate the Black Veil's source as soon as possible. Zan continued, stating that the Black Veil had merged with the dark world around them, and all that remained of its body was the black sphere in front of him. He glanced at the sphere, realizing that the rock monster was protecting it fiercely. He focused on the sphere, stating that if they could shatter it, the Black Veil monster would be defeated. Yifan stood up and stepped in front of Zan, declaring that he would help. Yingwei moved up beside him, adding that Zan should go for the black sphere while she and Yifan provided backup. But suddenly, the rock monster began sprinting toward them, its massive fist swinging in their direction, ready to attack. The ground trembled beneath its weight as it closed the distance. Understanding the situation, Yifan leapt into the air with great speed, aiming to intercept the monster's attack and buy time for Zan. He began to channel his immortality skill, golden veins spreading across his body as a bright energy ball enveloped him. With his arms open wide, he prepared to absorb the monster's attack, bracing himself for the impact. The monster's fist smashed directly into Yifan, but he held back the attack for the moment. Gritting his teeth, he looked back at Zan and said that his skill could only withstand 6 attacks. He urged Zan to focus on the black sphere right now. As the monster prepared to strike Yifan again, Zan dashed past them, declaring that he would head straight for the black sphere. Spotting the target in the distance, he began channeling one of his new skills. Lightning crackled around him, and his eyes glowed gold as he shouted the incantation. 6 divine guardians of heaven, servants of the emperor, summoned by the sound of the zither, to serve and obey. Just then, a massive lightning attack shot straight toward the target, crackling with energy as it raced to strike the black sphere. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like. It really helps me out.